Name of the store, Yaap?
That's a very good question. I don't directly have an answer to, but I can definitely find out. Let me take a look.
Amazon?
Yeah, just some small American store.
In California, there was a Dutch bakery. It was called the Artesia Bakery. They used to have trucks that went around to various neighborhoods to the Dutch expats, bringing the cheeses and the cookies and the candy.
Wow.
When I was a kid.
Oh,
So
wow.
my neighbors were Dutch.
The Dutch shop.com, Betsy.
Yep. All right. I will get my presentation stuff ready, and I'll rejoin the meeting in about 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be fine. He brought for all of us, so if you guys want to open it up, just do it.
Yep. Just go right ahead. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. I thought we were starting, so I started broadcasting. I can't stop, so yeah. Hello, everybody on YouTube.
Wow.
Welcome
Nice.
to this week in PowerShell. No, this month. Damn, why I keep saying week?
Maybe you got weak on the brain.
That's
Oh.
Tom.
Yeah. That's Oliver.
I had two requests come through for the Wi-Fi. That was it.
Oh. All right, well, I'm going to send you in one. What's your one?
It's Aldini, ALDINI, at Yaap, or at Tech, TEK.
I spelled it wrong. That's like, there's nobody here with that name. I did it like 2 or 3 times.
I said it twice, so.
All right, I'll double check.
Well, when you come back in, I'll just do a little spiel, and hopefully he'll be ready by then. Man, we have didn't have that many people sign up this week, but that's okay.
We scared them off last week.
Think
When
so?
was the last one?
Last month?
This was the same thing last month.
Yeah. Instead of turning to round robin.
Which was fun,
It
actually.
was different. And there were a lot more people that time.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's this done for me? I must have done it.
That's a little bit unnerving.
When people start eating the chips, that's the funny. Zoomed in on the ones. But it means I don't have to go like this the whole time. Who's talking? Who's talking?
Yeah. Like, when you do that so well.
The people at home get sick. They're like, "Ugh."
That's a neat little gizmo. Yep. Put that one down.
It cost me $800. It's a startup thing.
I hadn't seen your something.
It's more expensive than it needs to be.
Well, MLDini, right?
And
N.
Nicholas.
All right.
Not Nicholas.
Let's try this again.
Naldini, right?
Yeah. And
Seems a little bit out of focus.
You can almost tell whether or not you picked your nose.
This is Nick. Say hi, Nick.
that thing's crazy.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it?
It is.
So hopefully everybody knows where you're at, and welcome to PowerShell for Arizona PowerShell for what is it?
So we can both see
March?
you.
Yeah,
We stand
March,
over
right?
there, we can't see you.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, and our guest speaker is, he actually lives in Holland. I can't remember which company he works for. He just changed jobs, that's why I can't remember. And he's actually up at the MVP Summit in Seattle this week. So
MVP?
MVP Summit,
Valuable partner.
yeah, professional, something like that.
Valuable professional.
Cool.
So they're having a summit this week up there. So with that, I can turn it over to you if
Yeah.
you've got anything from tech. Thanks again for
Of course.
sponsors, as always.
Yeah, guys, my
Appreciate
pleasure. I love it. It's fun. So, tech systems, but I don't want to waste you guys' time. Like, we know each other pretty well, and a lot of you guys work for tech. So,
No, speak to the camera. You gotta get the people. There's people watching this at home. They might.
all you guys at home, we do have offices, over 100 offices across the nation, the UK, Canada as well. So if you are looking for work, there's definitely something local for you that we can help you out with. We don't really want to waste your time and just talk about jobs. We'll spend a little time, get to know you, what you're looking for specifically, and then only call you about relevant opportunities. So we're just looking to help you guys out. Even if it's with interview preparation for a job that we're not connected to, we'll still totally prep you and get your resume tightened up and updated and do whatever we can to help you guys out. So I don't have anything else. Hope you guys have a good meeting today.
Nick's awesome. He's got a couple jobs already.
And counting, hopefully more.
Yeah. More than a couple, actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys have at it. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Easy.
Let's try the packaging. There we go.
So is this on Kickstarter or something?
It was. It's actually on Amazon now. It's called The Meeting Now.
I thought that's where you bought it, was Amazon.
It was a Kickstarter up until the very day I bought it on
Really?
Amazon. Yeah.
Wow. How much software update did you have to do? Very much?
It takes care of itself. It's basically an Android phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just basically Android running on there, and it's doing TensorFlow smarts and stuff inside there. So,
Cool.
basically the same technology an Amazon Echo does. Microarray figures out who you are, where you are based on the sound. It points the camera that way.
Oh, nice.
This one's right for each.
You might as well leave it open.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody else will want some. I just passed it around.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot cheaper than our call presence walls.
Oh yes. I was actually going to show it to my boss. It's like, hey, you know that expensive Cisco system you have? Look at this. Oh, what? You can't use a Cisco system?
Holy
with
cow, those
people's-
are cookies.
Oh my.
Oh, wow. Oh, they're cookies.
That's not a cookie. That's a meal.
Everybody wants to bravely open those. Go for it.
What's the last below?
I'll take your word for it.
Can't do a Dutch accent.
Here, now I'll let you.
Breaking bread. Breaking bread. Come on, look my way. Come on. What's wrong with you? There we go. That's a cookie.
Yeah, that's a cookie.
So, Crocodile Dundee, that's not a cookie. That's a cookie.
Well, hopefully Yaap will show up here pretty quick.
We lost our one viewer already.
What?
So there's a viewer count at the bottom there. We had a viewer for a second.
Oh, crap.
Let's get him over the cookies.
Yeah, probably. He should be here any minute, I would think. He said he needed to set up.
He should just muted.
I concur. But who knows? He could be up there getting and fixing himself another rum and coke or vodka and soda,
Gin.
gin and
Dutch
tonic.
would be gin or Heineken or orange brew or
Or a mimosa, maybe.
Peter's brand.
So do they have little paper windmills instead of umbrellas in their drinks?
I don't know. You'll have to ask him.
That'd be awesome. That'd be the best question right there. Well, you haven't told everybody that yet.
I'm going to let him do it. So I guess while we're waiting, I asked earlier, anybody done any cool scripting lately? PowerShell scripting?
Only thing I've used it for lately is just make reports.
Really?
Yeah, nothing that cool, I don't think.
Like HTML reports or?
Just something exported, like yesterday HR needed it really is simple, but they thought it was amazing that they needed every employee's email address because they need to update their HR software. So just to get AD user, going to the active user OU and just said, display name and email, and then they're like, here you go. The next word is a CSV, then save that as an Excel and just give it to them. Like, there you go. There's all the current employees, mostly, I think.
Hey, it's to save you a step, if you use Doug Finke's import Excel, I think, it'll go right straight into Excel. Have you looked at it?
No,
Doug Finke,
I'm mostly saving everything, exporting it as CSV, and then just opening it up and just.
I believe, if I remember correctly, his will actually create a straight Excel. And you can pull in an Excel file. I actually did that for, I had to create some YAML files for Puppet.
Yeah.
And I used my data source was a spreadsheet, and I used that module.
Played around with the Excel module a while back. The built-in one though, I think it was either through WMI or through .NET. I don't remember what the integration is. Just remember that it was a pain in the butt to use.
Well, the one that Doug Finke has, you don't have to have a version of Excel. They actually use the DLL, the free version is what he's using. So you just go to the PowerShell gallery and download it. And he's got some awesome stuff he's put in it. Really good stuff. Sorry to steal your thunder.
No, that's fine. You asked, I gave you an answer.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, just bits and bobs.
An automated script that does a telnet connection and reboots a telnet-enabled device because we have a buttload of those in my current office and they
really?
like to fail.
Cool.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, dealing with technology from the 90s.
There he is.
Up here, unmuted. Right. Come on, unmute. This bloody plugin. Okay, give me a second.
This one's pretty good.
Sorry, there's this plugin that's supposed to make it so that if anybody joins us, it doesn't go nuts, and actually making this worse. Come on, join the conversation. Show in broadcast. That's what we're going to do. There we are.
That's a lot better.
There we go. Yeah. There.
Let me fix up the light.
You figured you're fixing yourself a rum and coke or something.
I don't think it's time for rum and coke just yet.
Okay. Okay. So we heard about the smartest question. Is there also going to be a dumbest question prize?
Yeah, the dumbest question. That's what the twigs of wood are for. So whoever asks the dumbest question is going to find out if it's actually edible or not. So, how are the cookies? Are they any good?
Very good.
Very good.
So Tom, are you also taking questions from people not here? This is open to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they find the YouTube, except for I disabled chat. God. Why did I do that now? It was open.
We're going to re-enable chat. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I disabled it because there was nobody showing in previous attempts.
Maybe that's why they left.
Oh, you might be right. Maybe that is why they left. Enabling live chat. All right, YouTube. You can now chat to us. Just use those little keyboards.
Whoa,
Whoa, what's that?
All right. Let's see if I can manage to share my presentation.
Okay. Let me make sure this is on.
Here we go. Is this visible for you?
Can it be bigger?
I'm working my way up to that point. Let's see. Play from start. How is this?
Now it's black.
That is, sorry?
It's black.
Black. Oh, that's not good. Let's try to share the entire screen then, see if that works better.
Oh,
Whoa,
nice
that's
mirror
pretty.
effect.
How is this for you? Is this visible?
That's nice, yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, that's cool. So I can't see you anymore, but I can still hear everyone. So
Yeah.
I'm ready when you are all ready.
We're ready.
So-
camera connected in the top of your phone?
No, it has to do with the Cisco thing. I can't do squat about that.
So our guest speaker for this week is Yaap Brasser, is that right, Yaap? Is that how you say it? Okay, so go ahead, take it away, Yaap.
All right. So today we're going to talk about having fun with PowerShell 6.0, and we're also going to dive back a little bit into what we already have with PowerShell and how we got here. So here we go. So let me tell a little bit about myself. So I'm Yaap. I'm a PowerShell MVP, or at least I used to be a PowerShell MVP. So what that means is that I spent way too much time playing around with PowerShell and talking to user groups like this one. I'm mainly involved with the Dutch PowerShell user group, and I also speak and help organize the PowerShell conference in Asia and also in the EU. I'm not sure anyone there. Is anyone there going to the PowerShell Summit, the DevOps Summit next month?
Nope.
Nope. That's too bad. There's going to be a lot of good content there. So aside from that, I'm also speaking at conferences. I mentioned I do a bit of blogging, although recently I've been a little bit quiet, and I got a bunch of scripts and modules and just little snippets spread around on TechNet and on the PowerShell Gallery GitHub. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk a bit about PowerShell remoting. We're going to talk about JEA. We're going to talk about what's new with PowerShell. And when we're talking about what's new with PowerShell, we're talking about PowerShell version 6. We're going to talk about security, and we're going to leave it open for Q&A. By the way, is my camera still enabled right now, or is it just a presentation?
Just your presentation.
Okay. Then, okay, cool. So I'm going to leave it quite interactive because we're a small group. So if at any point something is unclear, just give me a shout. Preferably wait to the end of my sentence, and I can go into more detail. Let's start with PowerShell remoting. How many of you are already using PowerShell remoting?
Good part of us.
You can't see us.
All right. So everyone is already familiar, because then I can go over it a bit quicker. So in a nutshell, PowerShell remoting, it has been around since PowerShell version 2. If you want to use PowerShell remoting, in older versions of Windows, you still had to configure it yourself. But starting from 2012, I think it was R2, they enabled it by default. You can use different authentication methods, and if you want to configure it on down-level systems, you can either use GPO or DSC to configure it. The advantage of PowerShell remoting over having commandlets that supported just dash computer name is that it gave us a uniform way of executing PowerShell commands remotely, and we don't have to rely on the underlying components of the individual commandlets to run our PowerShell commands anymore. But since all of you are already familiar with PowerShell remoting, we can skip over this one. With PowerShell remoting, there's a number of default configurations, and I got my configurations on my system. It's Windows, it's Microsoft PowerShell, it's 32-bit PowerShell, and PowerShell workflow. Is anyone actually actively using workflows in PowerShell?
No.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with what workflows are?
No.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
So workflow was a very nice idea that was introduced in PowerShell version 3. It was to allow long-running jobs and resumable jobs to be run in PowerShell. Unfortunately, the language was slightly limited, and it complicated writing scripts quite a bit. So it's best if we forget about PowerShell workflow, in my opinion. Cool. Let's move on to JEA. So, why JEA? Before I dive into it, is anyone using JEA or has used JEA?
Know about it, but I haven't used it.
No.
I haven't used it.
Okay, so why would you use JEA? Well, the reason we want to use JEA is because we want to lock down. We want to be able to lock down our systems a bit more, because having people, obviously having people use PowerShell instead of RDPing into servers is already the right step. But if you still give them, full administrative access of your system, it doesn't do much in the sense of protecting you. So that's why I got the security seal, because JEA is eventually there for your protection and your company's server's protection. So you can use JEA to secure PowerShell access to systems. You can reduce the amount of people that can do everything. And using JEA, you can see what users are doing on the systems. And this is not in particular a property of JEA, but something that's provided by PowerShell logging. So, are you actively using PowerShell logging in your organization?
You mean like the start transcript? Is that what you mean?
Well, transcript logging, event logging, module logging.
Yeah.
I think we're using a version of it, but I'm not quite sure. I've only seen the results on the Kibana elk.
Sorry, elk?
Yeah, I've only seen a PowerShell elk return, which I'm thinking is going through a Windows event log. So I'm guessing we're using it. But I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Well, if you're running Windows 10, then pretty much, unless you disable PS readline, you are using a form of PowerShell logging. Because if you use PS readline, then all your everything you enter in the console will be logged and stored in your profile. So this is also something to, if you ever type a password in plain text in your PowerShell console, it will be stored in a plain text file in your user folder. That's another reason for using secure strings when you're entering passwords in the console, and when you're writing scripts, that you make sure that you use the secure strings for passwords.
Cool.
So how can we deploy JEA in your environment? So in order to deploy JEA, we first need to have WMF 5.1 installed, which comes bundled with Server 2016 and with Windows 10. We need to enable PowerShell remoting if it's not already enabled, and we want to enable PowerShell logging. So when you get started with JEA, JEA is based on DSC, and we can use DSC to create the configurations and to manage our JEA configurations on our system. Let's go over the basic steps for creating a JEA configuration. So the first step you go to is you create a low capability file. You can use this file. You can create this file using. You can create this file using the create low capability file commandlet. You can then deploy this file on your system. It can be copied into its own module folder. You can then create a configuration file, and you can then register your configuration using register configuration commandlet. So by doing so, I'll go back to this slide. You will create another PS session configuration on your system, and when a user connects to that system, you can specify which session configuration you connect to. And by specifying a JEA configuration, you can give a user access to only a subset of the commands that are available on the system. So if for example, you have a backup operator that needs to be able to check an event log or check a log file on the system, you could give them access to a specific function that just retrieves the information that he needs, or just allow him to do get event log and retrieve the information on the server instead of giving him full administrative access to the system. So another part of how JEA facilitates this is by using a run as account, and the run as account for the JEA endpoint is always by default administrative account on the system, and this allows a non-administrative user to run administrative actions on the server. So in a nutshell, this is how you can use JEA to configure. This is how you can use JEA to create a secure configuration on your system. So let me switch back to the camera and see if there's any questions from Mar? Let's see where this went. All right, I should be. Oh, I'm still screen sharing. There we go. So any questions about JEA so far before I move on?
Is there any sort of specific, you said logging has to be enabled as well, is there any specific type of logging or just any sort of kind of logging for it to work?
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Well, you said the log, I'm not too familiar with the PowerShell logging, but we were discussing earlier and saying there were different types. Does it have to be a specific type of PowerShell logging, or is it just whatever type of logging? That was the question. Because you were saying,
yeah. So the kind of logging, I would generally go for is both event logs and transcription on disk. So starting in PowerShell 5.1, or not sure if it was 5.1 or 5.0. Maybe you know, Tom? Do you know when system-wide transcription was introduced? If it was 5 or 5.1?
I don't remember.
Okay, neither do I. Anyway, so you can use system-wide transcription logging, and specifically for JEA, what the benefit of that is, because it's using a run as account, you would not be able to determine which commands on your system. But if you use the system-wide transcription, you also have the possibility to set a header for each command, and in the header it will then specify, okay, it was this user running as this user executing this command, and this was the output. So that would be the JEA specific side of the PowerShell logging.
Can you show a little bit of that? Because I think that would help. That would help with some of us, because I haven't done much with logging myself as it stands. So it'd be cool if you could show that a little bit. Yeah.
The problem is that I brought my MacBook to the US and not my Windows laptop, and JEA is not available on my current system.
Oh, it's not available on 6?
No, it's not available on 6.
Call any of the commandlets off the top of your head besides start and stop transcription? Is there another one?
Sorry, the commandlet?
Yeah, what module are they with? Because I could pull them up here.
They're in the JEA module. I can show the commands in the chat. Yeah, they're still enabled, right?
Well, you can move on. I'll look for them, and then I can update everybody since you don't have that available to you immediately.
I have something available. Just a moment. I'll pick up. I'll go into my GitHub repo. I have a number of demos in there. In the meantime, if you have another question, I'll answer that while I look up the code for configuring your JEA endpoint.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. How do you mass deploy JEA across your systems? What's your best method that you've come across?
Yeah, the best way. You could. I would either use DSC or GPO to do it. But you could also, if you have PowerShell remoting configured, you could also deploy it using a script.
Would you strictly use a JEA for server-side stuff, or could you use it on workstations?
So on a workstation, it doesn't offer a lot of benefits, in my opinion, because if someone is already logged into the system, he's already able to do. If someone has physical access to a system, it doesn't really matter how you use JEA to limit what he can do on the system, because physical access is, in my opinion, the same as having system access to a bot. Because there's always ways they can escalate their privileges if they have physical access. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So that would also be my addition to that would also be to access two servers on which you configure JEA, because if you don't do that, then someone would always use RDP if he wants to do something he's otherwise not allowed on the system. I'll have to get back to you on the JEA commands. I can't find them right now.
Okay, sounds good.
So at least the commandlets that you the necessary commandlets, I'll throw them in the chat room right now.
Well, they're in core, huh?
They are in core, but they're only available if you run on Windows
5.1.
Yep. You can still connect to the endpoints using 6, but we'll be connecting to the 5.1 endpoints on Windows. Here are the commandlets required. So new PS row capability file is to create a file. New PS session configuration is to create a session configuration, and by registering it, you register it as a PowerShell endpoint that you can connect to.
Thank you.
So here's an example of what a capability file could look like. So it's not the best way to read this, but you can set which commandlets are visible. So in this one, what I make visible are get process and get sim instance. You can then use that hash table to generate the PS row capability file, and you can then register that file as a configuration. And you can also go a bit further. You can start specifying, okay, this user or this AD group can connect to this and has rights to run these commands. All right. Back into the demo. Oh, I have no contenders for the worst question yet. So if anyone wants to try and eat a stick of wood, you really have to come up with a worse question than this. Let's agree on this. So if no one comes up with a terrible question, it will be Tom that will be eating the stick of wood.
We're okay with that.
Yeah, I might be as well. You never know yet.
I'm okay with that.
I might be a beaver, you know? You never know.
All right, let's make it funky again. All right, so PowerShell version 6. How many of you are already running or have played with PowerShell version 6?
Me?
I've installed it and I've looked at it. That's about it.
I've read the documentation. That's it.
Okay, well, installed and looked at it. That's already something. So what's new with PowerShell, PowerShell version 6 or PowerShell Core, as it's also referred to? Well, first of all, now you can install multiple versions of PowerShell side by side. So this was something that was not possible with Windows PowerShell. And when I say Windows PowerShell, I just mean every version of PowerShell before PowerShell version 6. Because it's side-by-side installation, you can now also install it without a required reboot. So when you were installing older versions of PowerShell, you always had reboots, and that's also part of the reason why it was harder to upgrade PowerShell, because in my line of work, I would run into systems that we were simply not allowed to reboot, except in very specific windows under very specific conditions. So that made it a lot harder to roll out PowerShell out in an organization. And now installing PowerShell is as simple as copying over the binaries, and you're good to go. In PowerShell version 6, we also have PowerShell remoting over WinRM, but we can also use SSH remoting.
Can you only do SSH remoting from a non-Windows OS?
Yes. And you can use it to remote into a Windows machine and vice versa. But if you want to do it on a Windows machine, you do have to have OpenSSH installed.
Oh, okay. So all the remoting with 6 is using SSH.
No, you can use PowerShell remoting. But in general, my advice would be to use PowerShell remoting only between Windows systems, because otherwise you have to install WinRM on the Linux or on macOS or whichever version of Linux you're running. And even if you do, then Kerberos is not supported. So,
yeah, I've been down that road. I've been trying to get it working.
Sorry?
I've been down that road. I've been trying to get it working. I haven't been able to get it there yet.
Okay, well, it is experimental, but it should be able to. You should be able to get it working. We can do that after the presentation. Just shoot me a message. So we are currently version 6.0.1, and the biggest advantage of the new version is that we can now run it on Linux, we can run it on Windows, and we can run it on macOS. So that's a nice advantage, but we've also lost some things in PowerShell Core. So get the WMI object. I think all of us have used this command at some point.
Yeah.
We lost some security features, and because PowerShell Core is also running on .NET Core, we also lost the full .NET support. So if you are using any .NET methods, or you're using pinvoke in your scripts or in your modules, it will no longer work on PowerShell Core.
Well, so does that mean the sim commandlets are gone as well as WMI? It depends on WMI? Is that the idea?
They are working on that at the moment.
Oh, the sim command?
Yeah. They should. I don't think they're available in PowerShell Core. Let me pull up PowerShell. So, is it still visible for you? No, that's not the console I was after.
That face that you were given.
I didn't see it. I've got lag over here.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously this won't work here. No, gets in is not.
Yeah, it must be anything that with WMI is not there. It's the idea, huh? Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. So that is a bit of a challenge, and that also leads up to the next point.
Yeah, but invoke REST method is there, which is awesome.
It's very useful.
Pardon?
Invoke REST method is very useful.
Absolutely.
So the future of PowerShell version 6. What the PowerShell team is going for now is every 6 months, give or take giant bugs or incompatibilities, they are going for a new release. And after that release, you have up to 6 months to upgrade to the next version. And if you don't upgrade to the next version, then you can just continue running as you're used to, but you no longer have support. So the life cycle of PowerShell has become a lot shorter from a support point of view. So the idea now is that PowerShell Core 6.0 will be supported until the end of the year. So in your environments, would you expect to have problems if you have to update this often with PowerShell?
Absolutely.
Well, the upside is that because you no longer require reboots in order to upgrade your versions of PowerShell, it's as simple as just copying over the binaries, and you're up and running again.
Awesome.
In that sense, yeah, I guess it's a bit of a buzzword, but we have to be more agile.
Being agile doesn't break things.
So what's the future of Windows PowerShell? So Windows PowerShell is PowerShell version 5.1 specifically. It will remain fully supported. It is still receiving bug fixes. I mean, if you've been upgrading your Windows 10 or your Server 2016, you've noticed that there's still increases in the build numbers of PowerShell 5.1. So they are still doing bug fixes, and there's currently no plan to completely replace Windows PowerShell. So part of the reason that they are not going to replace it is because it is switching over to PowerShell version 6. In most cases requires you to rewrite your scripts, to rewrite your modules. And they're not doing away with all the work we've done so far. They are, however, very clear that the future of PowerShell is going to be PowerShell Core and PowerShell version 6. So if you're currently actively writing scripts or modules, then PowerShell 6 compatibility is something to do. So are you actively, I switch back to the camera, are you guys actively writing scripts and modules?
Yeah, I am.
Totally.
Have you already worked on modules that are supported both on PowerShell, Windows PowerShell and PowerShell Core?
No.
Not yet.
Okay. I've done it in some minor scenarios, but it is going to be more important going forward. Especially if you're working in mixed environments, the benefit of being able to run your script on any server is quite big. So any questions about the life cycle of PowerShell and where we're moving with PowerShell version 6?
Nope.
So you said we could run this in tandem with 5, right? So we could get
Yeah,
familiar with 6 while we're still supporting 5.
Yeah, both can be
Yeah,
installed.
that's correct.
Awesome.
Has Microsoft announced it
So, if
yet?
sorry, what did you say?
I was saying, has Microsoft announced an end of life for 5 yet?
No, there's no end of life for 5. As far as I'm aware, it's going to stay supported for as long as the Windows version it was bundled with is supported. But that's as far as I'm aware.
Up until the next version of Windows on the desktop.
There's never going to be.
There is going to be a version of the Windows desktop. All right.
Desktop's now supporting it, I guess.
Hopefully Core takes over pretty well.
Cool.
Is anybody in here
Tom.
heard of anybody trying to make a framework that converts 5.1 to 6? On the
I'm not aware of anyone building that framework. The PowerShell team itself is. I'm not sure.
well, no worries.
No, I'm not aware of any framework like that.
Well, 5 and 5.1 and previous, that's all heavily tied into the .NET namespace.
Yeah,
Which
so-
is not there going forward because they're trying to make everything
So it wouldn't work.
heterogeneous.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a similar command in Core that was used with .NET. So the translation, almost like a translation matrix, take 5.1 code.
Well, they have that with
You still have add
aliases
type in
six.
6.0, right? Right, yeah.
Yes, you get the types you can add are only types that are supported for .NET Core.
Oh, okay.
If you use add type and you're referring to a DLL that's not bundled with .NET Core, then it will still not work.
Because it wasn't compiled with the same compiler, probably.
No, and that's also the way PowerShell 6 is deployed is it comes bundled with its own version of .NET Core. So that's why we also don't require reboots anymore when we're installing PowerShell 6, because all the dependencies on .NET Core come bundled with it.
Okay.
But that also limits us to whatever it comes bundled with. I think that's also what will make it hard or impossible to convert all scripts directly to PS Core.
Yep. Until they start providing support to .NET Core with it, or to it rather.
Yep. And when you say until they provide .NET Core support, in what sense do you mean?
I would assume that when you, just like a traditional developer, whenever they build something, they could build it for .NET Core, they could build it for .NET 4.5 or 4.5.2 or whatever it might be.
Yep.
So long as you build it to support that platform, as it were,
Yep.
I bet it would work with PowerShell.
Yep, that's right.
So you could reflect it in, so long as it was compiled with that version in mind.
Yep, that's right. All right, let's move over to the last part of the presentation, which is PowerShell 6 security. And after that, we'll have some time for Q&A, and we can go for the best question for the mystery gift. All right. So as I already mentioned, PowerShell Core or PowerShell 6 security, JEA is only available on Windows PowerShell. We no longer have secure strings on Windows platforms. And there's currently no device guard and app locker support. So the JEA part we already discussed. So secure strings, I already mentioned it in regards to PS readline. So secure strings are not available on Linux and on Mac because the way the Linux OS is set up allows for any user to impersonate any other user. So if you're good on a Linux system, you can just pretend to be on a system, and because of that, there's no cryptology provider like we have available on Windows, and that is the basis of your things. We have them on Windows. So the alternatives I've heard of, if you're planning to work with secure strings or are looking for ways to store that on PS Core on Linux, is the GNU Privacy Guard project, and you can use that for encryption and decryption. But it currently doesn't come bundled into PowerShell, so it will require you to write it yourself. As for the device guard and app locker support, I expect that to be included in a future version of PowerShell, but a future version of PowerShell 6. But I don't know of any timelines of that. There we go. So that leaves us with the questions. Does anyone know of? Put it back up. Did anyone ever run this on PowerShell?
Jeez.
Version 5. Don't run it because it will crash your shell.
Nice.
It crashed your machine, huh?
It doesn't crash your machine, just your current PowerShell.
An error has occurred that was not properly handled.
And this is also one of the advantages of PowerShell version 6 because it doesn't crash PowerShell version 6.
Does Snover know about this?
He does.
Who found it?
I'm actually not sure who was the first person to mention it. I saw it come by on Twitter. Twitter is my main source of anything PowerShell related.
Yeah, same for me.
Excellent. Do I already follow you?
Yeah.
The important things.
So I'll open it up. I'll open it up to you guys, and yeah, let me know if there's any questions left.
Is part of the future of PowerShell 6 Python integration?
I don't think the future of PowerShell is the integration of other scripting languages. I do know that that Microsoft is looking at a lot of different scripting languages within their within Azure specifically. Sorry, but I don't know how I would see Python integration into PowerShell. How would you see that yourself?
Well, I assume because DSC is accepting Python now, so I assume you could probably encapsulate Python commands in a PowerShell command to
work
on a Linux or Linux system.
Yeah, well, you can already do that currently. So I call Python directly from PowerShell and execute a command, and you can also do it the other way around. You can execute a PowerShell script from Python or Java or from anywhere. So I don't think there will be any specific support in PowerShell for Python or other scripting languages.
So there's no out-grid view either.
No. That's.
I remember seeing a tweet about that.
Yeah, I think it was Chrissy Lemaire. She was
Yeah, Chrissy, yeah.
yeah, she tagged Jeffrey in there. So I think it will I think it will probably change soon now. But outgit view is a very useful command. So I would also like to see it, but it is hard to implement because outgit view won't be available everywhere, and on Linux with all the different window managers, I think it will be a tough one to implement.
Well, even if they did like a grid view style, instead of, gosh, what's the other one? Format table.
Mm-hmm.
They somewhat similar to format table, just maybe pop up another window and make it.
Format table is available in. Is completely supported, or what do you mean exactly with supporting format table?
Well, I was just saying if they would do if they could pop it up in another PowerShell console, right? Maybe that would work. I'm just spitballing.
Okay. But the challenge with porting outgit view is that if you want it to be graphical, then or would you then see it as plain text, or how would you imagine it?
The only thing you could do, I would think, would be something like format table.
Yeah.
And then maybe have it go to some kind of variable that you could filter and focus in on the data somehow.
And then use your keyboard to navigate to there. This one up. So is this big enough? Are you able to read this over there?
No, bigger.
See how we can make it bigger.
It's better. I think it's still control. If you still hold control and scroll your mouse up and down. I think.
Would be nice, but it's
Command. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's Mac, right? Command.
it is bigger.
Command plus. Okay. We got to click inside it first, yeah. Oh, whoa. Yeah, there you go.
Whoa.
Whoa. That works well.
It's bigger fine.
Bigger fat.
There you go. So we can indeed still use format table, and that works as expected. But outgit view is not there.
Certainly they've got to have .NET Core with some GUI stuff that the web developers are doing. Certainly there's got to be some of
Do an
it.
HTML table, yeah.
Yeah.
But then how would you interact with what you would get into HTML?
You'd have to have some sort of JavaScript that would be part of the HTML somehow. Just like when you write a page.
Yeah, it would be an interesting way to host a web page that contains something outgit view and then communicates it back.
Yeah, agreed.
In PowerShell. That's
Agreed.
it sounds very hacky.
Kind of clunky, right? But admittedly, the most time you ever use it, at least for me, is when I'm just debugging stuff, or when I'm wanting to look at the data a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, and not just when you're debugging. I think another nice benefit is that you have your data visually, and if you use the pass-through parameter, you can also pass through those whatever you select back into PowerShell. I think it's my go-to hacky GUI for me. If that makes sense. So anything on the security side of things that you are running into, or that you feel like I tried to do this and I ran into some issues? All right.
Yeah, I know my organization is probably years away from really being able to do cross-platform PowerShell of any kind. And we're still implementing the multi-tier security model, which is disrupting our ability to do PowerShell even across tiers.
Okay, that's an interesting interesting approach.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Tom? What kind of challenges have you found with PowerShell 6 so far?
I've been using it on Ubuntu, right? The biggest thing I wanted to do was to be able to use an Ubuntu box to actually RDP into a Windows host without installing 6.0, so that I could get some folks in the group that I'm working with to actually kind of embrace PowerShell and move it forward on the Linux side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I've already taken some of the stuff that I wrote that was purely invoke REST method and was able to use it on Linux, and it worked great. The only thing I had to do was there's specifically with the really nice thing that's in the new commandlet for invoke REST method is the fact that you can skip the self-signed cert errors, that you can create a custom override in 5.1 and earlier, right? So I had to do is Linux and then use that switch on invoke REST method.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's the only thing I had to code extra. It works pretty good. I liked it so far. And it's cool to be on a Linux box and not be as proficient on it, but yet launch PWSH and you feel like you're at home for the most part.
Yeah. No, for me, I'm also not an expert on Linux. I can work my way around it, but now that I have PowerShell available on Linux, it's a lot easier for me to call to data, to create objects from whatever I retrieve from Linux commandlets, and I already know how to use regular expressions on PowerShell, and it is also regular expressions are obviously also available on Linux, but if I can use it in the way that I'm already used to applying regular expressions, it makes it a lot easier for me to filter through data on Linux systems. So it puts a lot more systems into my comfort zone.
I wish there was some compelling reason to get a Linux admin to use it, right? I wish there was something that that the product itself had that would entice or make it better for a Linux admin to actually embrace it and ditch Bash, because then I think it would really take off, and that would be.
I think part of what it offers is third-party modules. So, for example, I'm not sure how many of you use VMware, but if you look at the PowerCLI module, that one's fully supported on PowerShell version 6, and there's nothing like that for Bash available on Linux. They have the CLI command, but they don't have the PowerShell module, and that was. If we're going to have more modules like that from other vendors, it can be a compelling reason to switch over to PowerShell for Linux admins, because there is a third-party ecosystem with active contributions from big companies.
Your audio cut out.
Boy, that thing's going nutty. It was going. Oh.
Yeah, it's because of the fan.
You're snapping your glasses. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last bit.
We were commenting about his fancy camera. His being this guy right over there.
That's Google.
So what kind of camera do you have there? Is that a Microsoft Roundtable or?
No, it is a Meeting Owl. It's just came out of Kickstarter. It's on Amazon now, and it's way too expensive. It's mostly for companies, but it's exactly what I needed because I didn't want to swing a camera left and right and all around. And
yeah, no, it works. It works quite well.
Yeah. For some weird reason, Tom is like a ghost to it sometimes. It just doesn't want to go to him. I don't know what that's about.
That's because I'm so scary looking. I'm sure that's what it is.
Oh, now it goes to you.
Yeah, but now you told it that it wouldn't do it, then obviously it does it.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So on the lighter side of things, which of the cookies and snacks were your favorite? Did you get to sample a bit? This is a question to all of you.
Yeah, whatever the.
Yeah, those ones there.
I think everybody was too chicken to open the great big bag of cookies.
Yeah, yeah. This is overkill. This is
That's not overkill.
party. This is feeding Africa kind of thing.
There's 6 of us in this room. There's too many cookies.
It's like a huge Biscoff. This one.
Oh, is that like Biscoff?
We like big cookies in Holland because in our culture it's like you can only have one cookie traditionally. So we just made the cookie bigger.
All right, we'll have one. Well, plus marijuana is freely available in Amsterdam, so they got to have something for the munchies.
Well, that's something, but that's not very different from the United States nowadays.
Colorado.
Yeah.
So, you should ask him your question you asked me.
My stupid question?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. I had an idea for the stupidest question we can ask you.
Yeah.
So in California, America, typically there's a little umbrella, paper umbrella that goes in your drink. Do you get little windmills in your drinks? Little paper windmills?
If I have paper windmills in my drink.
Yeah.
Like at a bar.
Like at a bar. You get a paper umbrella normally in your drink, your foo-foo drinks.
Okay. Well, I generally tend to drink beers, so we don't get umbrellas in there.
Yeah. You get a lemon or something.
Yes, millions. We have millions of tiny paper windmills, and we put them in everyone's drinks.
Nice. Isn't that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah. I just wanted to win the stupidest question.
Okay, well, Tom, you can hand over the wooden sticks.
Oh yeah, 6. Is this really bark?
These are actually roots of the licorice plant, and you can chew on it, and you get some kind of licorice flavor. It's very Dutch, and I think most Dutch people don't even eat that.
Ooh.
I'll eat it.
Yeah, I hate licorice, so Tom, go
I
ahead.
like licorice.
Yeah.
Anybody else want one?
I'll try one.
Okay.
Licorice?
It's very chewy. It's pretty much like chewing gum. Just chew it until it has no flavor left.
All right.
So in a more general sense, with PowerShell, what are some issues or some challenges you're running into when you're working with PowerShell? Do you guys have something specific you keep on running into, or something that bothers you when you work with PowerShell?
Once in a while, security decides to kick my computer off the network because they don't like the PowerShell script I'm running. Very annoying.
Yeah.
That's
Multi-value objects, not returning a value when you export. That's the biggest thing I hate. I always have to go back and do a custom object.
You have to flatten the object?
Like I do a lot of reporting on SPNs and delegations
That are nested objects. You gotta flatten it.
Yeah, so I got to go back and do the little custom expressions, and then everything comes out all okay.
And how are you exporting the data? What are you using? Which format?
Well, I generally export it to a CSV so I can bring it into Excel and do some sorting in there, and as part of my project planning.
Yep.
Migrations and stuff like that. You know, I gotta see if there's any stale objects or if there's invalid SPNs out there.
Yeah. And wouldn't JSON or well, I would prefer JSON, but otherwise XML, wouldn't that be a solution to it? When you're exporting to either JSON or XML, you can define the depth.
Well, it probably would be if I had an easy way to utilize XML or import XML, and you know, I've never really done that.
Have you messed it all with like he's asking the convert from JSON and convert to JSON?
That works really well.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot better than XML commandlets.
Yeah,
I use it all the time.
I mean, I've done my little workarounds, you know.
Yeah.
I've done some little scripts for our level 1 guys, you know, to where they can put in a service account or a computer name and get a complete list of the SPNs and delegations sorted, you know, and it works for them, you know.
But if you like let's say you have an object and you need to persist it and reuse it later, you can do the import and export CLI XML, which works really well. But I actually prefer the JSON because it's a little bit cleaner. It feels cleaner.
I think JSON is definitely easier to read. If you need to reuse whatever you're spitting out of PowerShell, then export COI XML is an option. And you can also run PowerShell with the output XML command.
And that's just a term of serialization and deserialization, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Speaking of serialization and deserialization, have you ever done any with or you using the proxy commandlet? When you deserialize a proxy item and then you try to reserialize it? What a pain in the butt that is.
Yeah, that's not a fun thing to do. Up until this point, what do you think had the best question today?
Gonna give up the little windmills.
You can't win both.
The windmills was already the worst question. We need the best question now. So I'll leave it up to Tom to decide which one was.
Do you remember the questions? Because
No,
I
would have written them down if I knew I was going to be elected.
It's a little bit too late for that now. We can't change what happened in the past. We're going to move forward, Tom. So.
Oh, there were two people talking. One more time.
Okay, so it's up to you. Who do you think gets the dubious honor of having the best question today?
What were the what questions do you remember? Because I'm trying to think of them.
I had some questions about implementing GEA. I had some questions about Python integration in PowerShell.
Well, that beats windmills, hand down. Nah.
Gosh, I don't know.
We can also do a get random.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Can I get your names?
Yeah. We'll start over here.
My name's Christian.
Christian.
That's good. I'm Oliver.
How do I write that?
Oliver.
Oliver. Oh, right. Yep.
Don Reese.
What's the name after Reese?
Ramin. Did you catch that? R-A-M-I-N.
All right. Got it.
I'm Nicholas. Slacker.
So I have 6 names right now. Is that correct?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
7 with you.
What's Tom?
Plus Tom.
Are we including Tom?
Yeah, include Tom.
Just put Slacker in there. That's all you need.
There we go. Okay. I'll share my screen. We can all see this is going to be honest.
Randomize for the UV price.
Can you all see this?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that beer! Oh my gosh. Okay.
Well, I'm going to butcher your names, but I also expect you to butcher my name, so it's only fair.
All's fair in love and war, right?
Exactly. So, can I get a drum roll, Tom?
Reese.
Okay.
Is it a bigger stick?
Is that the beer stein?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, actually, you know what? I could give you the box too. Oh my goodness.
Is the beer stein that comes with the beer?
Unfortunately not.
It does not come with beer, but it does have windmills, I think. Does it have windmills?
Yes. That's very nice. Thank you both.
No problem. Very good Dutch. Tom, would you mind taking a picture of Reese and tweeting that, and I'll tweet it out as well.
Sure. Be happy to.
Excellent. Thank you.
You see, I'll just do it with my fancy surface, I think.
Oh,
No,
There's
heck with that.
there's the windmill.
Nice. I don't even have one like that at home, so it's.
Well, eat your heart out.
The windmill isn't
Ready?
in the drink,
Two,
it's on the
three.
drink.
Okay.
Excellent. Enjoy.
Couple minutes. Or you have a Twitter handle, Reese?
I do. Do
you remember what it is?
At Mr. Windows AZ.
Let me see if I can find it.
Mr. Windows.
Don Reese. Here we go. Eight tweets. You're like I used to be. I hardly ever got on here.
I follow Helmick and Snover, and that's about all I use it for.
I'm sure Linux guys have some Twitter accounts.
Yeah, but it's not as interesting. Our network is locked down at work, so I can't get to it except for on my phone. So I'm on LinkedIn though.
Well, that's already something.
I think I have the longest profile on LinkedIn. Everybody keeps complaining about having to read all my crap on there.
So yeah, if you guys ever get stuck with something PowerShell, or you found one of my scripts, or you have a script that doesn't behave very well, feel free to reach out on Twitter. I always tell this to people, and normally I say no one ever does, but today I actually had someone reach out on Twitter to me to ask me something about a script, so feel free to do so. I still like working with PowerShell, so I'll be happy to help you guys out if you ever get stuck.
So what are you doing these days and for the future?
In what sense?
Well, you're moving on from PowerShell. What's your main focus these days?
Oh no, I'm not moving on. I'm actually not moving on from PowerShell. I still very much work with PowerShell, but the future for me is going to be make sure that everything, well, not everything, everything that makes sense, that it becomes PowerShell core compatible, and if it's something not Windows specific, make sure it also runs on Linux and Mac OS where possible.
Okay, I tweeted.
Ah, fantastic. This is going to the group very jealous because I never spoil them like I like I spoil you guys.
Thank you. It's over the top.
Yeah, it was nice. Thanks, Yaap.
Yeah, no problem. But
So if you guys remember Jason Yoder, he and Yaap spoke at, what was it, last year or the year before, Yaap?
we spoke this year. Depends which conference are you referring to?
Well, I guess you guys did it again this year for Asia PowerShell conference, right? As well as that year I was there.
This year, me and Jason didn't speak together at the Asian PowerShell conference, but last year we did a session. We did a session together there. And 2017 we did one at PSConf EU as well.
Ah, that's right. Okay. Because I went to both of those last year. I can't afford to go this year. That was too much money last year.
Going to PSConf Asia this year.
I can't afford it, man. Between footing the flight and the hotel and the conference fee and
Hookers.
yeah, well, my wife went with me. My wife went with me, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is a bit expensive, but it's always fun to hang out with the PowerShell people. That gives you a lot of ideas of what to work on next and get inspired by.
You could bounce ideas off people too.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's the biggest benefit of doing that.
So nobody opened up these candies. Are these licorice or what kind are they?
Those sugary. They're basically not caramel. I guess caramelized sugar.
Put them around. That's caramel.
PowerShell. The first time you get diabetes.
Compliments of Yaap.
Yeah.
Coffee candies.
They're toffee, huh?
Coffee. Coffee with a C.
Ah.
Yeah,
Does it have
coffee
real-
extract listed as flavor number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the end. Out of a dozen odd ones. Yeah, man.
Coffee is required.
I'll pass some. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we hate to keep you, man. I know you got to probably go up there and have a few drinks with everybody else that's there, right?
Well, I would say I'm going out for dinner.
Yeah. Well, whatever the right word is.
That's it.
Okay. Well, yeah. If there's no questions or comments, then I can sign off and leave you to it.
Well, thank you.
Well, we really appreciate it, Yaap. Thanks a bunch, especially for all the extra stuff you sent as well. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Just make sure you don't tell the people from my user group because they'll get expectations, and I'm not sure if I can. I can keep it up.
What's their Twitter account?
I don't think they're on Twitter. None of them.
Oh,
We don't have internet yet in Holland because we spend all our money on the paper windmills we put in your cups. So
That's all that ice skating on the canals, right?
okay. Well, in that case, yeah. Thanks for having me, and I hope to make it in person someday.
All right, appreciate it.
I'll be there eventually, not this year.
Okay. Have a good evening, gentlemen.
You too. Thanks, Yaap.
See you, Jeff.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, he set the bar high for the next guest.
Well, the next guest next month is going to be Jekyll. That's what he goes by on Twitter. Which his name is. Have you ever been to Posh Code? Or do you remember when Posh Code was around? The website called Posh Code. See if I can find his name.
I've been
He's pretty well known and pretty well respected in the
doing a lot of
PowerShell community.
Tommy Maynard and
Yeah, Tommy usually has been speaking for us for 2 years here on the Saturday events.
Yeah. That remind me if I could take care of.
Tommy's just depressing these days because he wants us to change everything that we're doing, and we don't really have the power to change everything that we're doing right now. It'd be cool. Just make it so.
Joel Bennett. You guys heard of Joel Bennett?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. But
If you're on, if you ever use the Slack channel, he's the guy that owns the Slack channel for the Slack PowerShell channel. Anybody been on that Slack channel?
I've been on Slack for a long time.
He has quite a few, he has like modules for JIRA. If you use Atlassian products, a lot of this, he's contributed and was like the leader, if you will, for a lot of those modules.
Sure, that's a perfect way to get my JIRA administrator to hate me.
Yeah.
They're really good. I used them at the company I'm at now. They work good. I'm actually using them we use the JIRA pages to actually provision machines. So they'll fill out a page and put all the detail of like what subnet it's on, how much disk they want, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And we actually pull that JIRA form in JSON form and then submit it to UCS Director, which is a Cisco product. I don't know if you've heard of UCS, but we're using for VM provisioning.
I'm sorry.
Is it fully automated?
UCS is
Pretty much, yeah. There's as automated as it gets until stuff falls out, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, if you're taking a page and turning it into JSON objects and feeding that into your...
Yeah, that portion is the entry on the initial form is all humans doing it.
Yeah.
And then once it's in there, submitted and approved, it then is put on, like MQ Series Q, not MQ Series, but I forget the name of the other product. It's a queuing tool. And puts it on a queue, and then it's picked up by the processes for UCS Director. And then that JSON is then parsed, and then a machine's built based on it. It's pretty slick, works good. And I had to write something to emulate that creation of that JSON file, where I'm pulling the exact same JIRA ticket and then rebuilding the JSON, just like the tool that they have that's doing it. I did in PowerShell. Interesting, I'll show it to you.
Possibly.
Okay. Anyway, Joel's really, really sharp guy. He's helped me out a lot. I'll actually ask him about different language stuff. He's like, I don't know if you guys remember Kirk Monroe, when we had Kirk Monroe here, when I had him speak. He spoke on JEA back when we were going to Scottsdale, to the Fashion Center Mall, every week, or excuse me, once a month. He did a real good presentation on JEA. I think what actually happened that evening, if I remember correctly, that was the evening that we couldn't get the speakers to work, or the microphone, and I had to put the microphone up to my laptop, if you remember that. This place is so much better than being up there. Oh my goodness.
That was the noisiest situation you could ever put an AV guy in.
It was a good way to start, though. I mean, until we found a better place. This has been a lot better place.
I don't know. That first place we went to, that was pretty awesome. Beer and all.
Yeah, I didn't know where else to go. That was my second month here. Maybe we'll have to do it again.
What was that place called? I can't remember it.
Minder Binder. Just like right over here. You guys been to Minder Binder? It's off of.
Did they close and reopen?
Yeah, I think they might have. Yeah,
It's
it's on
University.
McClintock and University. Yeah. The pizza's good. They have good pizza.
Yeah. We go in there and they're getting ready for a country hoedown or something. And we're like, we're here for the PowerShell group. The what?
That's when the twins came too, wasn't it? I haven't seen them in a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think they were regulars. Right?
There were two guys there were two twin guys,
Yeah.
twins. They look, I mean, you wouldn't, one was Cole and the other one was
I don't remember that name.
Gendro was their last name. I know that much. I can't remember Cole and something else.
Those are the guys that put on that one presentation.
No, I don't think I've ever presented.
8 months ago or so.
I don't think I've ever presented.
I don't think so either. He comes every now and then. He's kind of probably 6'3", 6'4", tall guy, tall and
Yeah.
skinny.
Cole
names-
What I
names
should
sound
be,
familiar.
skinny, you know?
Yeah, Cole works for makeup place. So, whose name I suddenly forgotten the minute I try to say it. So, yay. Makeup.
Manufacturer,
Yeah, manufacturer.
Abbott, or,
Max Factor.
No, not one of the big ones, but close to it. They sell their stuff. I think mostly in
oh,
salons.
yeah.
Mac, like he said, Mac.
No, it's that one that was started by that little girl.
Anybody have anything that they would like to see or passionate about? That guy asking for.
I'm jumping out, I do have does anybody use PowerShell or manage any switches or routers, or is that coming?
There were supposed to be, when they initially released DSC, there were supposed to be things for DSC to manage switches and routers.
Okay.
I was going to be trying to play with that.
All right.
Once I have my routers and switches the way I want them, then try using, I think it's Posh Cisco.
Okay.
Oh, there's a Posh Cisco?
Yeah, and there's a Posh SSH, which is required by that.
Oh, that makes sense, because you would
But
have
then you
to go
do
over
things
SSH.
like git running config. I'm not really sure exactly what else you're doing, but it's like takes your running config and exports it into a different form.
That was my question, that's my curiosity is along the lines of like, so how is PowerShell managing these things? Because these companies aren't going to say, yeah, here's our source code, this is what we use, so.
It's just basically got some commandlets that always
So essentially
it'll just
like
basically just throwing out terminal commands to the switch.
Okay, but is it essentially acting like your PowerShell console is going to be pulling in a console of the commandlets from a Cisco switch, for example, or is it?
I think it has to know. I think it knows, like, has a list of like these are iOS commands.
Okay.
So from there, you tell it basically something in PowerShell language, and then it shoots it in, as something that you would normally just type at the terminal.
Okay.
Through like you were a SSH terminal.
Yeah, because that's what it's going through.
Sounds interesting.
But
The
Yeah,
Cisco
one-
product, the Cisco product I'm working on, the whole front end is all JavaScript.
I just have the.
I had to write my first bit of JavaScript last couple of weeks. Boy,
I thought JavaScript was on the way out.
No,
it's-
next script is the new version.
No, JavaScript has become
The default one, pretty much.
for anything asynchronous. You use JavaScript for that. It's basically Node.js is based on JavaScript.
JavaScript versus Java.
No, I wasn't thinking that, but I don't deal with much of that kind of stuff, so.
yeah, it's very different. I mean, the notion and the way it's handled is very much like PowerShell, but
Yeah,
it's not PowerShell.
I'm struggling. I'm trying to make
You're
it.
doing JavaScript too?
I'm doing a Node application that talks to 3 telnets and takes the output and streams into a log, streaming, and I can't seem to format the chunking of the data that's coming down. And I can't find a decent tutorial to verify what I suspect is how to chunk it. It's like, ugh.
Are you using Visual Studio Code for it?
Yes, I am. That program is awesome.
Yeah, I agree, because it's nice you can develop both JavaScript and PowerShell in
Yeah.
the same console.
I'm using for PowerShell, Python, and Node.
Are you? Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I'm kidding myself because it's like, what language is this? I can't remember how to do this.
Do you have a bunch of cheat sheets up on your wall?
I need it.
Yeah,
It's like the One Ring.
Node.js, Novice to Ninja.
I'm
From SitePoint.
I do not. I've just basically been Googling most of my knowledge for Node. Probably should.
SitePoint is like, for me, the best series of books on anything web related.
SitePoint?
SitePoint. They're based out of Australia. But they have, like I said, I think they have Node.js Novice to Ninja series.
I'm remembering something that had a little stick figure ninjas on it, so maybe I got it and I didn't read it.
Interesting. Because I actually went and bought a little pocket reference about that big, just an O'Reilly one, just so that when I'm stuck on something and I can't find it anywhere, I just open the book and look for it. More often than not, I'll do what he's talking about, which is do a search on it. But for JavaScript, that's what I bought.
Yeah. But anything web related, to HTML or HTML5, or anything JavaScript.
Streaming just seems to be something that they gloss over all the time. It's like they tell you, you do this, you can pipe this to this and pipe this to this, and you're awesome. Okay, now what if I want to format it? Oh, it's like,
Okay, hopefully this was a advantageous session. Appreciate everybody showing up.
Well, I think it was.
Yeah, it was especially good for you. If anybody wants to take any of this, please feel free to.
you can take a giant cookie.
Can I really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like molasses cookies. I think you did that because we had such a